Calls the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the Parks and Recreation Board meeting. It's January 14th, 2021. Shannon, will you please take the roll call?
Sure. Mike Brady?
Here.
Pam Brady?
Here.
Kelly Martin?
Here.
Tim Fulcher?
I'm here.
Casey Calusi?
Here.
Christian Franklin?
Here.
Akshitha Sahu?
Here.
Elaine Bowe?
Here.
Brian Gould?
Here.
Dennis Trantham?
Here.
And then we got Kurt Bovenseep
I'm here.
and Lori Bloom.
I'm here as well.
All right.
Okay, so are there any visitors today? No? All right. Next, we'll move on to new business. We need to elect officers. Would anyone like to nominate someone for chairperson? I would like to nominate Michael Brady.
I'll accept.
Any seconds?
Second.
Okay, now what do I do?
Yes, all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passed.
All right. And-
Okay.
And now,
Congrats.
if you wanted to, you could turn it over to Mr. Brady to run the rest of the meeting if you'd like, or if you wanted to run it, that's fine too.
Mike, you're in charge.
All right. Okay, everyone. Those are the only officers we need?
Nope, we need a
vice chair also.
vice chair.
Oh, okay. Are there any nominations for vice chair? You can also.
I'll be vice chair. I'll be vice chair. I will offer to be vice chair.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay. The only difficulty with that is if I'm not here, it's a good chance that Pam won't be here. Is that a problem for anyone?
Mr. Chair, actually, that is a concern, and you would really have a vice chair to be able to step into the role. So I appreciate both of you and your willingness. I'm just wondering, perhaps there might be somebody else who would also be willing to serve in that role.
Okay.
And if so, you can have two nominations, or you could withdraw a nomination as well.
Okay, would anyone else like to serve as vice chair?
I'll serve as vice chair.
Okay, Kelly, is it okay with Pam?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, all in favor of, I need a second for Kelly.
I'll second.
Okay, Tim seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, Kelly is our new vice chair. Okay, let me see. So, Lori Bloom, next. The city attorney wants to discuss the boards and behaviors.
Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Chair. It sounds really ominous the way that it's put on the agenda, and it was not intended to be that way at all. Really, what I do is I do a training for most of the new members, but since most of you are fairly new, I thought that this was an opportunity for me to just come in and talk a little bit. Tim, I know that you get this through the school district stuff, but the rest of you, so pardon me if you already know this information. A lot of you have been frequent attendees at regular meetings too. So a lot of this you might already know it, but I just wanted just a few minutes to be able to just go over some of the sunshine laws. And also just talk a little bit about conflicts and just things that you might need to know as a board member. First thing I want to do is thank you all for your service, because we really do appreciate it. This is a board that has a very important function, as you know, because we had to approve the master plan. And you know, Kurt's got an agenda item to talk about later. So your role is very essential for the city. So thank you for your service. So we are doing this meeting virtually. And actually one of the items that we probably should have put on the meeting is to allow for a virtual meeting to occur and to provide for public comment. Because public comment is something that it has to be allowed, it has to be permitted at all meetings. And the public comment can be about things that the board is under your jurisdiction, or it can be about something that is completely unrelated to your duties. They can talk about whatever they want. If it does get to be a huge issue, we can do things, you can impose rules. For example, a 3-minute time limit is something that City Council has done just to make sure that the purpose of the meeting is to get the business done. And so you don't want things distracting from that, but yet you also want to comply with the Open Meetings Act. There are some pretty significant penalties if you don't comply with the Open Meetings Act. So we don't want that. In addition, it's just not a good idea to have somebody even accusing you of an Open Meetings Act. So err on the side of total transparency, err on the side of making sure that everybody feels like they are welcome into the meetings and that they can participate into the meetings, and you won't go wrong. Just to back up just a little bit, the sunshine laws that we have now, for those of you who are old enough, they are post-Watergate. And so that's where the revisions are from the Open Meetings Act and the Freedom of Information Act. And then also there's an employee right to know, which I won't be talking about that. Not everybody knows that, so I always like to mention that. So when you are meeting in person, one of the things that I'm really big on is I want to make sure that the doors are open to the room so that people can walk in at any point in time. If it's really loud and noisy, I know in the community center sometimes there are other activities that are going on. Make sure that there is a sign that says, please, meeting in progress, please enter quietly. So as long as you have that is okay. The preferred approach is to have to just have the doors open so that anybody can come in. What you may or may not know is that, first of all, there is a requirement to post all of the meetings, but it could be a meeting if you were to, through email. So if you were sent something from Shannon and you had a quorum that was using the reply to all feature, then that would be a meeting, and obviously it would not be posted. So my advice to all of you is to delete that or put a great big X on the reply to all so that you do not use that feature, because we'd hate to have an Open Meetings Act violation just through the use of a reply to all. Just again, now you can, if you had something that you wanted all of the board members to do, to know, what you could do is you could send it to city administration. So you could send it to Elaine or to Brian, and then they could send it off to the entire group. So it doesn't prohibit information from being disseminated. It just basically, you just need to make sure that you're not having any dialogue. And that could be dialogue about what's a good meeting time. So you just want to refrain from doing that if you can. So I wanted to just talk a little bit also about the Freedom of Information Act. All of your emails are also subject to, relating to your board service, are also subject to the Freedom of Information Act. And it is possible that we as a city could get a request for any and all emails talking about the approval of the Parks and Rec Master Plan, for example, or talking about something that comes before you. So just be aware of that. If it's something that the city has sent to you, then the city will have it already, so you won't have to produce it. What I do recommend for, if you're getting a lot of emails, I recommend that you set up a separate Gmail or Yahoo account, that all of your documentation for the Parks and Rec Committee would go into that Gmail account. It just sometimes is just easier to have it all. For attorneys, especially, you need to worry about, if there were such a request, I would hate to have somebody else combing through all of my emails, some of which are privileged and confidential, to find out what actually is responsive to a FOIA request. So I don't know that any of you will have that same issue, but again, I just offer that as something that is an option for you to do.
Lori?
Yes.
Does that mean if we erase the emails, do we have some obligation to save the emails, such as the ones that say we're going to have a meeting?
You do not have to save the ones that say you're going to have a meeting, because again, the city administration is going to have that same, they sent it, so they're going to have it. You won't have to save those types of meetings.
Okay, but anyone that actually went, if I sent an email to Kristen, then I should save that email.
Yes. I recommend that you do save that email. Again, substantive discussions especially, it's important that you do that. And actually that kind of ties into another thing that I just wanted to touch upon briefly. There will be people who will come before you sometimes, and they may ask to talk to you outside of your service on the board. And so one of the things that you can do is you can blame it on me, and you can tell them, rather than talking with you and independently, what I'd really like is I'd like for you to come to the board or get your comments to the entire board, because you really want the entire board to be able to know what that commentary is. Another thing too is that you don't want to be in the position where you're talking to somebody and then you have to report back what they said, because if it's an unfavorable decision, they're going to accuse you of not getting it right. So you don't want to be put in that position. So basically, because all the best decisions are when all of the board members have the same information, encourage people that are talking to you to get their information to the whole board rather than just you individually. And then I also wanted to just talk briefly about conflicts. I'm not sure how often that will come up here, but if there is a special relationship that you have, or something that makes you feel like you are too closely aligned or that you shouldn't be voting on it, please let us know. We're happy to help you work through that. My rule of thumb is always disclosure is best. And so err on the side of full disclosure. It protects you because you're saying it out there. You're saying what your potential conflict is. And also the board members, they could always pass a resolution saying, we don't think that you should be voting on this. So again, that's added protection for you. I don't know that will come up very frequently, but I just be mindful of the fact that you really should not be voting on something if there's a potential conflict. The whole, the reason why we do this is we want people to have confidence in all of your decisions. Right. And sometimes even if they see you talking, for example, out in the hallway, they're going to assume that you're talking about an item that's supposed to be in front of the board. So they're going to assume that you are violating the Open Meetings Act. And it's just not good publicity for you and for the city. And you also want people to have faith in government and that we are transparent. So that was really quick and fast. I'm happy to take any questions that you have. And of course, I'm always available if you have any procedural questions, or anything like that. So.
Lori, can you give us your contact information,
Absolutely.
email address and such?
Yep. Probably one of the easiest ways to get a hold of me is if you go to the city's website and you go to the department page, then you can click on my picture and it'll send an email right to me. But I'm also happy to give you my email address. Would be my last name. It's BLUHMLG@troymi.gov. And then also I can give you my cell phone address, my cell phone number, because we are working from home. That's 248-885-1899. And I thank you for giving me a couple of minutes just to talk about these issues.
Okay, very good. That was, yes, especially in this period of a lack of trust in the government in general, all governments in general, being very careful seems like a really good idea. The next order on the business is approval of the minutes from February 6th of 2020. And I had a couple of comments on that, assuming that I can find them. Not sitting at my desk. Does anyone else have any corrections or additions for the minutes? On the, let me see. Under old business, there's a couple of misspellings, which are minor, but Mayor Baker is spelled with an E. And on the, and then Troy Community Center is Cantor. But more important is the sentence that says, under member comments, it says Judy Baker doesn't like online reservations or surveys. Quilting Group resents that they can't respond to surveys online. I assume what they're saying is that Quilting Group resents that they must respond to surveys online. That sound right?
Got it.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments? Okay.
Let me just check. I've got Lori's cell phone as 248-885-1889.
1899.
Thank you.
Pam, Brian or I can always pass information to Lori too, if for some reason you're having a problem connecting or you want to, you have a message for her, Brian or I can pass that along as well.
Okay. Who said that? I'm sorry, I was writing.
Elaine said it.
Okay, Elaine, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. Approval of the minutes. Does everyone approve the minutes? All say aye.
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 Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next on the agenda is the approval of the 2021 meeting dates. And the letter that was sent out to everyone by Shannon indicated that
I have the dates, Mike, if you want me to read them off, I could read them.
okay.
The park board meets 4 times a year. There's not really a method to the madness. However, we do try to avoid the summer because that's our busiest season. But the meeting dates that we're looking for approval for are Thursday, February 18th. And again, all these meetings are at 6:30 for us. Thursday, April 15th. Thursday, September 16th. And Thursday, November 18th. Now, we do know for sure, just so you know, the February meeting will also be virtual. And then beyond that, it's to be determined, but our regular meeting location for those of you that are new, it's in the community center in one of our banquet rooms. And the meeting agenda will always list the room number.
Okay. Any comments on the meeting dates? Okay. Then we'll approve the meeting dates. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay.
Not opposed. Can I ask a question though?
Sure.
Elaine, you said we meet 4 times or can we meet 5? I count 5 dates unless I got something wrong there.
Yeah, we only meet 4 times.
That's
February, April, September, and November. Sometimes, like this meeting, we threw in a special meeting so Kurt could present his proposal for the north parking lot.
Okay.
And get it done because of the time of the year. So
Got it.
It doesn't always happen, but yeah.
Okay. Not complaining. Just checking that out. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, are we specifically, do we have to have a certain number of meetings, and can we not have a certain number of meetings? Or is it a little on the open side?
The ordinance requires that you do have a number of meetings. It is set forth in the ordinance, and actually it's technically every other month. However, if there is no business, then there is really, you can cancel a meeting.
Oh, okay. Because last year we didn't have very many meetings.
Last year was an unusual year.
I'll say. Okay, so we approved the 2021 meeting dates, and that leaves us with the review and approval of the capital project in the north parking lot. So Kurt, that's yours.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you. For those that may not know me, I'm Kurt Bovensteep, the Public Works Director with the City of Troy. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and bring up a presentation. Okay. So the proposal that I'm going to present tonight was helped developed with our engineering consultant firm, OHM. Specifically, the area we're going to talk about tonight is one of the last areas of the old Troy High School. If you're not aware, the community center land where the community center was built was on the location where the old Troy High School was. And one of the last portions remaining, other than some historic walls saved in the community center, is the parking lot just to the north of the community center, which we call the north parking lot or the Skatepark parking lot. The parking lot itself is pretty dilapidated. It hasn't had any maintenance since we purchased the property because there's always been an idea of doing something bigger and better than just having a parking lot. When it was a usable parking lot, it was often used for Troy Days. They used it as a staging area, and then it became overflow parking for other events. So as you can see from this aerial view, just from the cracks and the islands in there, it has become in such disrepair that we actually barricaded it off and allowed no access to it because it became a liability. So this particular parking lot, it's like I was saying, it's been a vision to do something with it. We were kind of never sure what to do with it. Most recently, with the passing of the library millage, with the library going to be soon opening for 7 days a week, we had to find a location for the farmers market. So that's really what helped instigate this. Through the budget process, we were able to secure $500,000 of capital money to be able to renovate this parking lot. The original idea was to create a green space, if you will, so it can continue to be an overflow parking lot with what's a geotech material. It's think of it like a brick paver only made out of grass. So it was able to support large vehicles and not disturb the grass or the earth underneath it. That was our original discussion that we started talking with OHM. Dennis was involved with that conversation, and then our project manager, Ashley, and then the city manager as well, part of those discussions. And it kind of continued to evolve into, what could it be? What could we possibly make out of it? What is the best use of this property? So on this slide, it shows you what we came up with. It's a series of open space, green space, pathways and trails. And that area that's labeled number 2, and I think you can see my cursor here. So this area here is, we're going to continue to use that geotech material, that brick pavers, if you will. So cars can still access this without tearing it up or destroying the turf. So we're going to be renovating the older parking lot adjacent to the skate park and provide, hopefully in the future, a pedestrian bridge to be able to offer that full connection to the community center. So here are some of the different renditions that OHM came up with, activities. As you can see on the top left, it still can have some type of overflow parking if we need to. And then as we move to the top right, this is where we would host a rendition of how we would host the farmers market. The tents could border all the pathways. I know a lot of times Cindy Stewart brings in food trucks, or the vendors need to drive closer to the tent to be able to bring freezers. So we would station those along that geotech grass paver area. The bottom left is an example of what an outdoor movie might look like. We have done outdoor movies in the past through our Park It event, so this could support an outdoor movie. And then it just creates a large event open space that could accommodate almost any program. So our cost estimates, again, when we budgeted $500,000, it was just going to be a parking lot renovation and creating just open space. So as it usually happens, we grew out of that $500,000. But luckily, since this is renovating some adjacent parking lot, we have some other capital funds to be able to assist with that total of $875,000. And this is just the engineer's estimate. This isn't a bid price. We will get, once, if this board approves it to move forward to City Council, we'll be proposing this to City Council as a concept. And if City Council approves the concept, then we'll work with actually engineering, designing this, and we'll have a better estimate, and then we'll bid it out for a competitive bid to actually get constructed. So one thing that I've learned through COVID and meeting virtually is you really miss some of that interpersonal communication when you present. And in fact, me just talking to my computer screen is unique to me alone. So what we tried to do with this project, and we learned when we were proposing the phase 2 trail, the trails and pathways, is that it's essential to try to explain the project in real life as much as possible. So OHM developed a video to almost market the idea or get our listeners really familiar with the project. So I'm going to go ahead and play that now. And hopefully you'll be able to hear my sound okay.
Welcome to Troy, Michigan. Name? Welcome to Troy, Michigan.
Could everyone hear the sound?
Yes.
The audio,
Yes, barely.
the video?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's as high as my speakers go. Okay, we'll try. We'll play it from the beginning.
Welcome to Troy, Michigan. Named one of the U.S.'s best places to live and ranked as one of the safest cities in the nation. Troy is a premier shopping and business destination, attracting visitors from across the region. It's the city's dedication to its residents that makes it special. The Civic District, central to the community, includes a wealth of family-friendly activities and opportunities. And within this network of civic buildings and recreation spaces is a missing link. What exists currently as an underused lot could become much more. What if instead of a parking lot, we created a connection to nature, a connection to place? What if we celebrated people and the culture that makes Troy unique? And what if that space could adapt to a changing world for safe and meaningful experiences? That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Go back to the presentation here. So that's a video of what this could be. And I'll just go over the timeline. We had to go with some assumptions for the timeline. We assumed that the board would go ahead and make the recommendation to move this on to City Council, and then City Council would ultimately approve the proposal to move forward to come up with this timeline. But as you can see, we started this process in August and December with the concept. And then during January through March would be the final design. We would bid this project out for competitive bid end of April, beginning of May. And then we would have a construction season of June to September and final completion in September. It's not a very aggressive schedule. I was hoping that we could get this done, around June so we could host the farmers market immediately on this new project. But after talking with Cindy Stewart, we're going to move the farmers market to the park just adjacent. So it would be this open space here, which has a pavilion. So we're going to move the farmers market over there at the beginning of the season. This way people get accustomed to at least coming close to the location where it's going to where the new project site will finally host the farmers market. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions and take any suggestions.
I like the idea of the farmer's market. We go there every Friday when it was at the library, and we met neighbors there and we got to know the vendors, and it was just a fun afternoon out. So I'm delighted to see that you're keeping it.
Thank you.
I really like that there is a central place for residents to gather, and I think that's what's been missing, especially when we talked about redoing, the whole thing a couple years ago. I think this is a great idea. I love the idea of having a place where, families could go and picnic, or we could host, family night, whatever that would look like. Question is, would we be open to renting the space to anyone who wanted to use it?
That's a really good question that we haven't contemplated. I'd have to, so right now recreation is the department responsible for issuing special event permits and shelter reservations. So that is something that we have not contemplated, but that is a very good idea. I think you're right. If it's marketed properly, it could be beneficial to the business community that's looking for a larger open space with electrical, pedestrian lightings type of amenities.
And another question, the skate park, it looks like that's going to be redone, which I'm very thankful for. I know that there's a lot of children in our community that do use it. Will it be part of the parking lot, or will it still be a separate structure?
So the skate park itself, Dennis and his staff are making some improvements, but at this point, we're not looking to update the interior of the skate park at all. The design here is, we recognize that not only is it a benefit to this space, especially your teenage aged kids can enjoy the skate park while their parents possibly enjoy the event in the park. So we think it's a good complement to each other. But we also know that there's going to be people here just for the skate park, and then people just there for the open space. So this parking lot here is, we kind of designed it with this aisleway. It separates the two parking lots. And then we, of course, have the larger parking lot just to the south, which north side of the community center, to be able to park as well. So we're trying to complement each other, but also recognizing that there's potentially people that are going to be there for one or the other. Does that answer your question, Kelly?
Yeah, I think so. There's a park, and I'm trying, I don't know if it's Clawson or Madison Heights or Royal Oak, and they have a skate park, and it's all concrete, and it's built into the park. I don't know if you've ever seen that, and it's really cool. And it's a skate park, like it's not like a separate structure. So I didn't know if it was going to become something like that or if we're going to stick with the original design.
At this time, there's no intent to change the skate park, but as this is an advisory board, and you speak on behalf of the residents, if you think that's important, the skate park amenity didn't score very high in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan surveys, but that's if, like I said, as an advisory board, if that's something that you want us to look into, we certainly can. I visited Sterling Heights Dodge Park. That was most recently done with City Manager Miller, and we're quite impressed with what they did over there. But that is more the common style now to do all of the concrete type ramps and everything, and it kind of be an all-in-one. And that's something that if we move forward with a new skate park is what we would investigate.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I like the point that this is multi-purpose, so that you can do the shoppers market or the Friday market. You could also do Troy Days and a variety of other things, because you've got the pathways, but you've also got the open areas that you can put the tents on or picnic benches, as Kelly pointed out. And, so it seems like an area that can be used for a lot of different things, which is perfect.
Thanks, Mike. And I'll point out that not only as many activities, but any really time of the year too, because of the way we're positioning everything. We can have winter events here and summer events. We can have daytime events and nighttime events with the pedestrian lighting. One thing I did forget to mention is there going to be electrical stations associated with these pedestrian lightings. So if we wanted to do an event that required the vendors to have access to electricity, that'll be an option. And we wanted to design something that could grow into the future. It doesn't have to stop here, right? We showed a mobile clamshell or stage, if you will, over in the corner, but that one day could turn to a permanent pavilion or permanent amphitheater. So it's definitely designed in mind to grow and change with what the city demands.
I had a question around parking. Did we, before it was barricaded off, what level of frequency was that parking utilized?
Very little other than special events. So it was primarily used by Troy Days. Outside of that, I think, Elaine, when we used to have big craft shows or stuff at the community center, I think sometimes we opened it up. We used it at one point for shredding services, and then since we've closed it, we've moved that. So I don't think taking it away as overflow parking is going to be detrimental to the Civic Center.
Okay, yeah, it seems like the parking lot that's even still available is pretty underutilized, except for the rare event. But just for as far as I forget what you called it, the drivable grass area. Where's the access point to that? Would vehicles come through the walkway?
Sure. So these bollards here along the number 6, those would be removable, and we would be able to remove those bollards to allow cars to be able to access this area. It is designed to access this area with supervision. So the bollards would only be removed and vehicles would only be allowed if we had staff here stationed, so they didn't drive outside of that geotech area.
Kurt, I use canes or a scooter to walk this distance, and it looks handicapped accessible, which is a good thing. I just want to make sure that there are not any curbs that I have to get over without a curb cut. So where you show the walkways, I want to know that they're raised, if they are raised, but that I can get my scooter up it without taking a flying leap.
Sure. Thanks, Pam. In our design process, we always have the handicapped accessibility in mind. This colored portion here on number 5 is intended to kind of be the welcome area, if you will. and it's going to be at grade, or if not at grade, there will be curb cuts to be able to get access right into this area.
Wonderful. And it's right in an area where the parking is, so I can go directly from the car to the scooter to the inbox. That's good.
I had a question, or just a comment, I guess. I think it's really great. I love it. In one of the pictures, there were some picnic tables. Are there going to be a seating area or a picnic table area permanently, or is that just moved in and out for the events?
We haven't contemplated that too much, other than to say that we didn't want any fixed seating in the area because we don't want to restrict its use. Same with, we worked really hard with the landscape designer that helped landscape this with OHM, who continuously wanted to put trees in the middle. I love trees. I think trees are very important, but trees in this open area limited its ability to program anything we wanted. So I can see picnic tables for sure, like most of our parks. In fact, I think all, now that we just removed the fixed ones at JC, they're movable, they're transportable, they can be moved for whatever events in there. But definitely we want to be able to accommodate people to be able to sit and eat or just simply rest. Potentially, again, this project can grow as much as we want it to grow. We could put seated benches along the there's a drain here, the lane drain. We could put seated benches there that I don't think would negatively impact the programmable space.
Okay. I like that a lot. And my next thing was trees. Not in the middle, because I understand what you're doing with the open space. But also, let's say farmer's market. We go, we get some lunch. We want to be able to sit down. And if it's 90 out, we want to be able to sit down in the shade. So maybe a part of it that, like you said, along that, in the picture here, it looks like the bottom edge next to the drain. Maybe that could have a little bit of shady area with some type of seating.
Sure. And I think, Kristen, once we start using this space, thankfully trees can be added at any point, right? So once we start using this space, we can see how it's being used, and then we can also properly place the trees so they're not going to interfere with anything. So I am a big proponent of getting out of the sun as well. I think that, eventually it could support sunshades that wouldn't negatively impact the space. So we can, I know I keep saying it, but our focus is we didn't want this project to stop here. We wanted it to be able to offer opportunity for growth, and those types of things are amenities that can be added at any time.
Well, Kurt, you also have a park right across the parking lot. And that's a nice little park that's not really used all that much. It has benches and things. So if you picked up something at the farmer's market, you could walk across to that park, and then you do have trees and benches over there. I think they make a nice combination.
Yes.
Thanks. I didn't realize that. I'm just thinking it's hot and you're just walking around and you can't sit down and there's no shade.
Oh, yeah. No, you have a good point. But, yeah, I walk by there almost every day. And I can see how this would be really a nice addition, especially in Troy days or when the farmer's market is in there.
And I love those shade things, like the big triangles in the sky. They're just very groovy and modern. And okay, I'll be quiet. That satisfies me. Thank you.
One more question from me. Just what's the dimensions of the area that we're talking about?
It's 3.4 acres or 150,000 square feet.
Okay. So that's a pretty good sized area as far as, I know art fairs and things like that, you see those, and that would be, especially with the opportunities for revenue generating activities, would be great. So to rent that out. So it seems like a good enough area for that.
An odd question, Kurt. Is the skate park used a lot? I don't see very many people there, but maybe I just hit it at odd times.
I would say it's used frequently. I don't think it's used as frequently as your other popular skate parks like Sterling Heights, Auburn Hills. I think our skate park is what I would say where the veterans go. The older kids that don't necessarily want to have a large crowd. My son skateboards and he's got friends that skateboard and they go to Troy when everything else is crowded because they know that Troy is more of a relaxed environment. So it's not used heavily, but I don't think that's not necessarily a bad thing.
As I mentioned, I walk by there a lot and I seldom see it full, but I seldom see it empty. So exactly what you're saying, Kurt, it does seem to be, if you want to go there and see one or two people, which probably a lot of people do, then it's perfect.
Is the skate park open to all outside of Troy residents as well?
I mean, yes, technically, I mean, the way the parks ordinance reads is you have to be either a resident or a bona fide guest, but there's no restrictions on, we don't check residency.
You will, of course, have recycle bins there.
Absolutely.
Kurt, I like the intentional design for multiple uses, for a variety of uses, as opposed to just an open green space. I like that. I like the design and the vision that you have. You mentioned, just looking at the parking lot and thinking about some of the larger events where people will need to park in other lots. The bridge that you mentioned that's in the diagram there, is that part of the package right now too, or is that something that you mentioned might be coming later?
It's part of the scope and it's going to be part of the bid. Where what I don't want to happen is, because the bridge is going to require permitting through Eagle, which is the old DEQ, and the Oakland County Drain Commission. So it's been my experience that in the last year, permitting is very slow to get. So it's part of the bid project or part of the project, and it will be done. It just may not be done immediately when the space becomes available. But it might take an additional maybe 6 to 9 months to get the bridge done.
Okay.
There is another bridge there, right? That road on the right-hand side continues through to the community center. So you could.
That's correct.
Overflow parking, you could park an awful lot of people and they just have to walk around.
Mike, you brought up a great point. Is this walkway here, where my cursor's at, and then follows down, is intentional to be able to take the place to the bridge until it is installed. Is people could park here and walk along what I call the service drive, and then access the new open space through here. It also presents the opportunity to connect across the street, which the Troy Trail goes and would connect here as well.
I love the Troy Trail, Kurt. I know you do too. So I just throw that out and say, let's complete that one. But I know you tried and tried and tried.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I would love to be able to take to City Council a resolution that this board supported it. I think that's really important, especially, and Kelly, I think as you mentioned, that the Civic Center has been discussed so much over the last several years. I think it's very important that we get as much input into the design as possible, and that includes this board's recommendation to move forward.
Okay, is there any other comment then? Okay, do I need a motion? Does someone like to make a motion that we approve this north parking lot project as presented?
I move.
Sure.
Okay, Pam moved. Who seconds?
I'll second.
Tim seconds. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, passed on unanimously. Okay, thank you, Kurt. That was good presentation.
Thank you.
Great project. Okay, next on the agenda is old business. Does anyone have any old business they wish to bring up? Okay, no. Any members comment about anything? Okay. Okay, so others, staff reports. The director's report is first.
Yep, I can start. We've tried to send updates to the park board to keep you updated as to what's going on. We're printing our last digital recreation guide. We're printing it, we're sending it out. Our first printed rec guide in over a year will be coming out in March. So there's a little bit light at the end of the tunnel that we're not digital. We'll be back in everybody's homes again. But we did save a substantial amount of money by being digital. So watch for those recreation guides to be back in your mailboxes real soon. Brian will cover some of the other stuff that we've got going on at the community center. The governor or the state health department did just make some adjustments that we can bring back some of our programming. So he'll touch on that. What I did want to bring up is after 29 years with the city, I will be retiring. My last day with the city will be March 5th. And Brian will be named interim director after I leave. So.
Well, we will certainly miss you and hope that you have a good retirement.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Just when the city's opening up again.
Yeah, part of what put me over the edge probably was this pandemic. I've really enjoyed not driving to work every day. So I live in Livonia, and this was very, very appealing to me, is to not, especially in the winter with all this construction. So the pandemic probably put me over, but I was looking forward to it.
I'm sure you'll enjoy retirement.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Hey,
Elaine,
Mike.
who's taking your place?
Brian Gould, he's going to speak next. He's going to be named interim director.
Oh, Brian. Okay.
I had something I was going to comment, but I forgot to say it when you gave me the opportunity.
Oh, all right.
Is it okay to speak now?
Sure. Put it in with members' comments.
Okay. So, I remember Dennis saying that his team for upkeep on the parks and everything, at one point it was like 40 people or something, and now they have like maybe 6 people. And I was just wondering if the people of the city of Troy want to have the parks kept up, then why not just hire more people and do it? Why do we have to stay with this very low number that's not sufficient?
Okay, let's leave that one, and Dennis can approach that when he does the parks report, if he wants to. Brian, you're next with the recreation report.
Yeah, so the community center is open. It's been open since September, and it's been, some things have been closed, some things have opened. Spaces between machines has changed about 5 times, so we've been moving machines left and right. So the new order is 6 feet. So tomorrow we're going to be moving things around to go from 12 feet back to 6 feet, so that we can start to offer badminton and basketball by appointment only per household on the north court. We're also going to start offering group exercise starting the 25th by registration. And we are currently starting to look at prices and what needs to be done for the outdoor pool to open it this year, which it wasn't open last year, so it would be quite the undertaking to get it done. So, but it will get it done. We'll have it open. So, besides that, that's all I really have.
Okay, hopefully, well, everyone will be vaccinated soon, and then you'll be able to go back to where it was. Okay, Dennis, you want to do the parks report?
Yeah, so I'll touch on Kristen's part first, and Kurt, I may look to you to help me out on this a little bit, but it's not that we don't want to increase our staff, especially in light of COVID right now and not knowing where the city's gonna be financially in the future. We really can't just go and ask for more people because there's a legacy cost that's associated with that. One of the things that we try to do in parks is we try to recruit seasonal staff to offset that summer labor or that labor help during the heaviest parts of the season. So that's like April till the end of October. This year we were not greatly successful in filling all of our positions, much like the rest of the community or the Southeast Michigan area. We had some jobs on the table, but we couldn't get them filled. People didn't want to work in public environments. So it's not that we don't want more staff. It's that right now is not the time to kind of go and ask for it.
It seems to me, I remember you talking about the fact you couldn't get the staff last year before, last summer, when saying that you didn't have any particular problems except that people didn't want to do what you wanted to have done.
To an extent, yeah, that's true. I know this year, one of the things I'll talk about is how we've cleaned the restrooms. We've really recreated the process that we do. We purchased a bunch of what they're called no-touch restroom machines. So the staff will go in now, and no one has to physically touch a commode to clean it. They can spray them down with pressure washers, low pressure washers, and extract all that mess out of there. So that was something that we've done during the pandemic to try to provide clean facilities for the citizens to use. We increased the frequency of cleaning from once to twice a day to 4 to 5 times a day to all of our restroom facilities. So that was something that we changed this year, hoping to maybe even recruit some people who would be willing to run a machine, but maybe not willing to scrub a commode with a Johnny mop. In light of COVID, it's been pretty exciting in parks. We've had a lot going on. We have a new supervisor. We have a new municipal arborist this year. Mike Potyak was our former municipal arborist. He got promoted to park supervisor. That's a welcomed addition. And we hired a new arborist that's been out since, July on the streets, kind of making a difference. Kind of forthcoming this year, we're looking at replacing a play structure at J.C. Park. So we'll take out the southernmost play structure and replace that with a new structure and the synthetic turf that you see in some of the other parks. We're working on renovating restroom facilities at J.C., Bolin, and Firefighters. One of the things that we're going to do with those is we're going to install some bottle filling stations to provide some much needed water for people out there. I'm working on Bolin tennis courts. So we're going to repave the tennis courts this year at Bolin. It's going to be a pretty big project. I'm sure most of you know, but I'll mention the trail at Sylvan Glen opened up this year. So that'll be phase 2 of the trails. If you noticed in the council meeting a couple weeks ago, Kurt took another proposal to look at phase 3 of the trails at J.C. Park. So we are continuing with trails. We have kind of reorganized Parks Department a little bit, that they're going to respond to trails and parks for snow and ice removal. That's a little bit different. They're become more of a priority for us, so people can get out during the inclement weather or as soon as it stops and enjoy said trails. This year we have made significant repairs on the skate park, and there's still some more to come. yeah, so we're working with Brian at the pool. So from a facility side, we're working on getting the drains and the lights fixed over there. So we've had some pretty busy and exciting times in parks.
What's the status of the dog park?
What do you mean?
Is it being used? Is it fully functional? I don't have a dog.
Oh yeah, so it's being used. I guess Elaine can talk to the membership numbers, but every time I go by there, it's being used. We added some fire hydrants this year to add some elements for the parks. We just had a meeting the other day to talk about maybe some other elements that we can potentially add. So it's being used for sure.
Good.
Yeah, the memberships are going up as in previous months. If we've lost fitness members, we've gained dog park members. But people are looking to us. We do have a promo going on right now for a discount for memberships at the fitness center. So those are kind of amping up back as well too. So it's nice to see.
Dennis, you mentioned that the tennis courts at Bowling were going to be repaved sometime this year.
Yeah.
Do you know approximately when that's going to take place?
I don't. I was working on the bid spec some today, so we got to kind of put it out to bid and kind of decide if I'll do both at once or do one in the spring, one in the fall. So I'm kind of looking at that timeline.
Would you mind just communicating what your plan is with me, just with the school district removing the middle school courts? Our courts at both high schools are heavily utilized. Just so I can communicate that with our teams or coaches, if they that we may get a few more people coming to the high schools during that time.
Yeah, the high schools do reach out to us, especially Troy High, to come over and play tournaments and things like that. So
right.
I can always pass it on to everybody too when I hear.
Okay, thank you.
Dennis, that was a really long, impressive list of improvements that are being made. Are we communicating that via social media with our residents? Because those are big things. The water station alone is pretty big. And I would love our residents to see what they're actually getting, especially in light of the survey that was put out a couple years ago, so that they can see that things are moving forward.
Yeah, I can certainly share those with recreation. They can push it out on their social media.
Yeah, the recreation department's in the process of updating our marketing plan, and COVID has pushed us faster to marketing the parks department. It wasn't something on our front radar because when our full-time marketing person started, we had to concentrate on getting her on board with all of our recreation needs. So we have 1.5 marketing people to market everything that we do, and parks is going to be a higher priority now, just because COVID's incorporated that, and people are looking to us for that, which they had not done in the past. So we'll push out that information as well, and as things happen, you'll see dog memberships come out on our social media, things like that. So we'll put it out there for them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and any other questions? Okay, then we'll thank everyone for a good job. And do I need for adjournment, do I need a okay from everyone, or?
You can declare that it is adjourned. I also did want to thank Kristen for stepping up and offering to serve too, as to start the meeting out too.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay, so we're adjourned, and we'll see everyone in February. Thank you.